We advise especially state governments to emphasize on sensitization campaigns on people living on flood-prone areas such as river valleys.
Threats of flooding not going away. Experts warn indigents living along floodplains to head for higher ground.
We are going to engage the ASU and the federal government so that as soon as possible, our students will return back to class.
New NANS executives appeal to ASU to return to the lecture halls.
I really enjoyed it because it has been long. We are down looking for this kind of a day.
This is my first time of traveling on the train.
A good motive for the locomotive. Bauchi residents welcome railway services with excitement. Good evening. It's nice to have you join us on the Network News at 9. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. Michael Olaleye joins us from Lagos. You can follow this news broadcast live on our website nta.ng/live and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen for more updates. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, says the security breach at Kuje Custodial Center was not an isolated incident, but part of a bigger picture of insecurity. This was during an appearance at the investigative hearing by a House of Representatives ad hoc committee. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
This investigative hearing is an aftermath of the attack on Kuje Custodial Center, and the Minister of Interior is among those to make submissions. Rauf Aregbesola says insecurity in parts of the country remains a source of concern, which explains government's sustained efforts to tackle it. He informed the committee that security personnel were at the facility on the night of the attack, which at the time had 994 inmates, more than half of which are awaiting trial.
65 people were there for specific responsibility of resisting and preventing any attack, and they were all armed.
The minister had, at the commencement of the hearing, presented a report on the Kuje prison break to the committee. Before going behind closed doors, the committee had urged service chiefs to honor its invitations to enable members discharge their responsibility.
We would also ensure the monitoring of measures put in place to protect lives and properties of residents in the FCT and those of all Nigerians.
The committee's next sitting comes up this Thursday. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency has issued a flood alert stating that 22 states are prone to flooding this month as a result of torrential rains expected in the country. Musa Aliu has the details.
The pattern of rainy season this year is accompanied with heavy, long duration and high amount of water in all parts of the country. Data released by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency indicates that high amount of rain was recorded in the month of July and August. For instance, Sokoto, Zamfara, Kaduna, Jigawa, Bauchi, Kano, Borno, Gombe and Nasarawa states recorded over 300 millimeters of rain. The developments saturated the state of the soil moisture across the country, triggering flooding in most parts of the country.
Because the soil moisture condition is a factor that influences either dryness or wetness. And dryness which could lead to drought, or wetness which could lead to, if there is over wetness, which could lead to floods.
The rain pattern in the month of September might not be different from that of August, going by NIMET prediction. States that are prone to high risk of flooding this month are Kebbi and Jigawa in the northwest, Borno, Bauchi and Taraba in the northeast, Plateau in the north central, and Bayelsa in the south-south. Other states listed that may experience flash flood including Kano, Adamawa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Abia, Imo, Enugu, Lagos, Ogun, Osun, Ondo, Oyo, and Ekiti.
We advise especially state governments to emphasize on sensitization campaigns on people living on flood-prone areas such as river valleys and people living close to drainages.
State Emergency Management Agency are therefore advised to intensify adaptive, mitigative, and response mechanisms to avert loss of lives and property. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
Still on the continuous devastation of flooding across the country, the National Emergency Management Agency NEMA has commissioned search and rescue vehicles and equipment for effective management of the natural disaster. Director Special Duties of the agency, Mustafa Habib Ahmed, says all the equipment will be deployed immediately to affected communities. Ilyasu Yakubu reports.
32 out of the 36 states of the Federation, with 233 local government areas, have been identified as states with probable high-risk areas of flooding. This is in view of the 2022 predictions of the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency. Already, more than 20 states have been severely affected by the floods, with many casualties. Jigawa State recorded highest number of deaths and still counting. Based on this scenario, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has commenced the deployment of these search and rescue equipment to arrest further devastation caused by the flood. NEMA boss said with the asset being inducted and deployed, it will no doubt enhance the safety and security of NEMA staff and place them in a better position to save lives, restore normalcy, and improve national resilience.
These vehicles, this equipment to be deployed across the country. As we are all aware, disaster has hit many communities, and this equipment cannot be kept here.
Among the equipment deployed were 3 mobile intensive care units, 3 incident response vehicles, as well as motorized and inflatable boats, among other equipment. In Abuja, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
Still on issues of the moment, the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, says it is gearing for a nationwide protest tagged Operation Go Back to the Classroom if the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities do not resolve issues which have kept students of public tertiary institutions at home for close to 7 months. NANS President Usman Umar Barambu stated this while appealing to government and ASU to come to a compromise. Olayinka Uju reports.
Over the weekend, members of the National Association of Nigerian Students from across the country converged on Abuja to elect a new leadership who will pilot the affairs of the association for 2022-2023 academic session. The election produced Usman Umar Barambu as the national president of the association. Umar wasted no time in lending his voice to the dissatisfaction of many others with the prolonged ASU strike, saying it is detrimental to the growth of education in the country.
We are determined to return back our students back to class. We are going to engage the ASU and the federal government so that as soon as possible, our students will return back to class.
For the former president of NANS, Sunday Ashefon, a factionless NANS can confront the challenges facing the Nigerian student.
For whoever who believes that it can be used by any politician for their own selfish interest, we are saying NAS is united.
The new leadership has since met with some critical stakeholders to discuss possible ways of ending the industrial action so as to save the sector from its current malaise. Olayinka Uju, NTA News.
Joining us now is the president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Usman Barambu. Congratulations on your election.
Thank you.
But the fact is that Nigerian students don't have anything to celebrate considering this perpetual inertia occasioned by this stalemate. What will your EXCO be doing to see that there is a push forward?
All right, thank you very much. And just like I said earlier on,
we will as quick as possible engage the federal government and the ASU to return back to negotiation table and quickly return our students back to class. And on that note, we acknowledge the effort of the Minister of Education and all the stakeholders that are doing their possible best to return back with the student back to class. But we equally appeal to His Excellency, the President of the country, Leji Muhammadu Buhari, to at this material time, please call the ASU leadership so that they will have one-on-one, him and them. And we believe by so doing, we'll be able to smile again.
Now, many of your colleagues have lost up to a year in public institutions. And what do you have to say about this?
It's very sad that a 4-year course will be 5, a 5 will be 6. But at times, these are part of the sacrifice.
Yeah, but what are the authorities saying to you about this?
Well, like I said to you, we are just new, so we are observing the system before we comment on such things.
Now, finally, do you have any fears of this face-off lingering further? And is the prolonged ASU strike and any subsequent extension justifiable?
I think if the president will intervene, definitely there will be no cause for alarm. And I believe, as a listening president, as a student-friendly president, he is going to do that.
In a few seconds, your message to Nigerian students all over who are at home.
All right. Firstly, is to thank them for giving me mandate to serve as the president of this great organization. And secondly, to commend their effort for going out en masse to register their PVC and to call on them to quickly get their PVC so that we'll be able to do the needful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've been speaking with the newly elected NAN's President Usman Barambu on the lingering ASU strike. Meanwhile, a university don, Professor Ahmed Isa Haruna from Bauchi State, says the constant shifting of the goalpost by the Academic Staff Union of Universities does not show genuine commitment to the growth of tertiary education in Nigeria. Professor Isa says the declaration of a strike during the coronavirus global confusion did not convey a thoughtful stance focused on progress and genuine commitment to intellectualism. The statement claims that the strike was never voted for at individual branches as usual, but truncated by the ASU NEC, further stating that this was not the sequence in the past. The professor advises ASU to consider issues of research and practices of professors visiting several institutions within a month in a bid to earn multiple salaries as one of the practices crippling quality education at tertiary level. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the worst of insecurity in the country is over. The minister stated this during a joint media briefing in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed setting the tone for the presentation of the ministerial scorecards. He said the security challenges facing the country is quite daunting, ranging from terrorism to banditry, kidnapping to separatist violence, crude oil theft to armed robbery, and sundry crimes.
Thanks to the purposeful leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, we can say, I want to repeat, that the worst is over, and peace and security are gradually returning to the land. Please don't misunderstand or misrepresent this assertion. We may see witness isolated cases of security challenges here and there, but it should not be on the scale that we've witnessed in the past.
Lai Mohammed was particularly satisfied with the nation's security operation against insecurity.
May I also appeal to all our compatriots to continue to support the security agencies in the honorable task of keeping our country safe. We must also realize that security is the business of everyone. And the tagline if you see something, say something.
Minister of Defense Major General Bashir Salihi Magashi, his police affairs counterpart, and that of Interior all took turns to read out their scorecards during the period under review.
Kidnapping for ransom, armed banditry, communal clashes have been some of the security threats that bedevil the region. Accordingly, joint military operations are being conducted in the southeast to overcome the threats and to entrench peace and security.
The Ministry of Police Affairs under my watch has been instrumental to strengthen the Nigerian police force to tackle challenges in the internal security architecture of the nation. To effectively achieve its mandate to protect lives and property within Nigeria, the Nigerian police have deployed operational intelligence and the ICT-based apparatus to tackle and stem the tide of crime and criminality.
The security agencies want to be challenged and largely degraded the groups and persons constituting the threats. What we face mostly now are flashes of cowardly attacks from the rank of groups that have been routed in one location or the other, moving to another to give the false impression that they have been strong. Our ultimate goal is to eliminate them all together and restore total and lasting peace over every inch of the Nigerian soil. And that, and take it home, we are going to do, inshallah, by December of the year.
Even though there were slight hiccups and occasional attacks on soft targets, it is not a show that the criminals are still potent. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
It's time for some messages. There'll be more security reports after the break. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned. We're still talking security. The Department of State Services, DSS, is collaborating with relevant stakeholders to address the issue of terrorism financing in the country. Francis Form reports that the two-day workshop is holding in Abuja.
Law enforcement agents and judicial officers gathered here to find a solution to stem terrorism financing. DSS is the chief at its headquarters, Abuja.
Terrorism financing can be said to defy borders, nationalities, or even religion.
We must never lose sight of the complementary role each agency plays towards successful conviction of perpetrators of these crimes and their sponsors in line with the Financial Action Task Force objectives.
Disconnecting the web of terrorism financiers and the terrorists is the task before these security experts. Director General of the DSS, represented, notes that the ever-changing nature and sophistication of the threats makes it imperative for security experts to be critical thinkers in order to fashion out a better and efficient ways to tackle the threats.
Nigeria, as a committed stakeholder, needs to contribute this quota in protecting the integrity and stability of the international financial system by terminating the resources available to terrorists.
The expectations at this two-day workshop is for an improved interagency collaboration aimed at detecting and preventing the abuse of financial system by terrorists and other criminal networks. Francis from NTA News.
Nigeria and Japan are strengthening areas of cooperation through manpower development and utilization. To achieve this, the Japan International Cooperation Agency JICA is sponsoring 39 Nigerian professionals under its African Business Education Initiative. Musa Abubakar reports.
He may have departed, but his legacy lives on. Late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan have bequeathed Africa the Abe Initiative, known as African Business Education Initiative for Youth. The initiative is known for promoting manpower development in Africa. This send forward is for 39 postgraduate students selected to study in Japan under the Abe Initiative and SDG Global Leader Program, a full sponsored scholarship by JICA to support Nigeria's quest in building a knowledge-based economy.
So in Abe program, they have enormous opportunity to work with Japanese companies and strengthen networks and bring them to Nigeria and work with them. So it's really have a significant impact in Nigerian development.
Yeah, we will send 39 very talented Nigerian youth. I really expect them to be an ambassador, to promote and to strengthen the Japanese and the Nigerian relationship.
The initiative seeks to bridge the country's manpower gap while taking advantage of Japan's technological know-how. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
The federal government is set to disburse the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund to enable indigenous shipping operators to compete favorably with their international counterparts. The Minister of Transportation, Muazu Jaji Sambo, made this known while inaugurating patrol and passenger boats at the National Inland Waterway Authority Area Office in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, saying the fund will be disbursed before the end of this year. Oyinaya Kalu Oka reports.
The two patrol boats are PB Gusau and PB Jalingo, with 32-seater passenger ferry boats inaugurated by the Minister of Transportation. These have added to the number of 20 patrol boats and water ambulances already distributed to newer area offices across the country to enhance operational efficiency.
The vision of the authority is therefore to make Nigeria the leader in inland waterway transportation development and management, not only in Nigeria but in Africa. Hence the need to ensure the development of infrastructural facilities for a national inland waterways network that will connect the creeks and the rivers with the economic centers, using the river ports as modal points or intermodal.
Minister of Transportation Muazu Jaji Sambo described inland waterways transportation as the cheapest and safest means of moving goods and persons, pledging to support NIWA in achieving its goals. The minister stated that federal government is committed to supporting indigenous shipping operators by disbursing the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund this year.
It is indeed a low-hanging fruit. I will do everything within my powers to make sure that that fund is disbursed to Nigerians as quickly as possible, so that Nigerian ship owners can increase capacity.
The Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund is an intervention fund created by the federal government towards the development of indigenous shipping capacity in Nigeria. Oyinaya Kalu Oka, NTA News.
Still on transportation, train services have resumed in Bauchi State after many years of non-operation, with residents of the state applauding the federal government and describing the project as remarkable. Mariam Bala reports that the train is scheduled to operate within the state for now.
The federal government's efforts in reviving railway services in the country is no doubt yielding positive results. I'm enjoying the first ride in this train from Bauchi to Inkil, which is 6 kilometers away from the state capital. It is over 7 years that the train moved. Abubakar Winti is a family man who took along his children to enjoy the 6-kilometer ride from Bauchi to Inkil village.
If you are not up to 35 years, I think nobody knows about railway. That's why we decided to come and join this first trip. The federal government need to put more effort. We need new facilities.
This is my first time of traveling on the train, and I feel happy.
I really enjoyed it because it has been long. We are down looking for this kind of a day.
Railway District Manager, Northeastern District Bauchi, Aliu Nasara, explains that the revival of train services in the state aims at boosting socio-economic activities alongside the transportation sector.
For about 7 years, we have not run a single train. And we now came with an idea that why can't we start running a shuttle train from Bauchi to NTA. But it has not been easy for us because the rate at which people have vandalized our track, the stock that they are going to bring. What I mean by stock, the train itself is going to be a modern train. You see it just like that of Abuja.
The mood of this community is a happy one. They are hopeful that a modern train will be deployed to Bauchi State to ease movements of goods and services. From the railway station in Bauchi State, Mariam Ubana, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has declared strong support for the aspiration of Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bagudu, the wife of Kebbi State Governor, who is now on a 3-person shortlist for the presidency of the Union for International Cancer Control, UICC. In a letter to the candidate, the president pledges that the federal government of Nigeria, through the Ministries of Health and Foreign Affairs, will ensure Dr. Shinkafi Bagudu's success in the forthcoming election of the Union. The President congratulates the First Lady of Kebbi State, who is also the Chief Executive Officer of Medicaid Cancer Foundation, for being shortlisted as a candidate for UICC President-elect, describing it as well-deserved. President Buhari says his administration, through the Federal Ministry of Health, has put in place mechanisms to improve cancer care, such as the Cancer Health Fund, Chemotherapy Access Treatment Program, and inclusion of cancer into the National Health Insurance Authority scheme. Let's now join Michael in Lagos for more updates. Hello, Michael.
Najatu. Search and rescue team of the National Emergency Management Agency and officials of Lagos State Building Control Agency have recovered 4 more bodies from the 7-story building collapse at Oniru Estate in Lagos, totaling 6 bodies so far brought out from the rubble. Safety officials are, however, intensifying efforts to arrive at ground zero level. Abolade Salami reports.
The 7-story building that caved in Sunday morning is receiving needed attention from the Lagos State government, building experts, and the nation's engineering professional body to ascertain cause of the collapse. Although safety officials are still carrying out rescue operations to recover more bodies trapped under the rubble, Lagos State government says from available information, the building was sealed in February of this year due to reports on the integrity of the structure. But the contractor ignored the warnings and continued work until the unfortunate incident happened.
We have neighbors here who give us information, so we ask them to actually write to the state. So we have different information, and then we will, of course, process the information and see what we can do to make sure that whoever did this, if a law has been broken, then we will see how we prosecute that.
While the issue of building collapse has suddenly resurfaced in Lagos State, building experts are suggesting the need for regulatory authorities to carry out regular supervisions and enforcement of standards.
And from my experience, I feel at every stage of work, Lagos State is meant to issue out a stage certification, in which I don't know if they properly carried out the exercise or not.
The quality of materials that can be used in construction is very important, like the reinforcement irons and the ratio of concrete and the sand ratio. At least they should look into it.
In the meantime, the area has been cordoned off to allow for thorough investigations and evacuation of the rubble to a dump site. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
The National Population Commission (NPC) has given an assurance that the forthcoming 2023 population and housing census will meet the yearnings of Nigerians and international standards. Executive Chairman of NPC, Nasir Isa Kwara, gave the assurance when members of the commission visited former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Yaku in Lagos, to seek advocacy support ahead of the conduct of the exercise.
In line with the United Nations principles and recommendations for the 2020 rounds of population and housing censuses, the National Population Commission, NPC, says the 2023 census will be fully digital with the deployment of technology to conduct the exercise and enhance data quality. The visit by the Commission to the former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Nyaoku, was to explain the progress made by the Commission in preparation for the conduct of the 2023 national census. It was also to proactively engage Chief Anyaoku and other well-meaning Nigerians in valuable cooperation and support to ensure successful conduct of a credible and acceptable census next year.
Has assured us he's going to support us and has spoken to Nigerians. You are going to make sure this message gets to Nigerians that they should cooperate with the Commission to make sure that everybody is counted.
Chief Emeka Anyaoku noted with conviction that the 2023 population housing census will help the country accurately structure its socio-economic and infrastructural development.
Hope and pray that they succeed in producing census results that will not be controversial, that will truly reflect the number of our citizens and their places of abode.
The Commission says it remains committed to the conduct of a credible and acceptable census that will be transformational. In Lagos, Hinginu John Adams, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen for updates. Time for some messages. The news continues shortly. Please stay.
It's nice to know you're still watching the network news at 9. The federal government has suspended its proposed excise duty for the digital economy sector, with the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Isa Ali Pantami, saying it will save the sector from being overburdened and prevent increase in call and data tariffs. Chimdima Undubisi reports.
3 years and counting, the ICT sector has been setting new records on its contributions to the nation's GDP. In 2020, it was 14.07%, 2021, 17.92%, and currently 18.44%. The ICT sector has held its turf, not bowing to pressure, but maintaining stable prices when other sectors are buckling under the weight of production costs and hiking prices of goods and services. The latest proposal to introduce excise duty on the sector, the telecommunications subsector in particular, that is meant to pay 5% excise duty on both prepaid and postpaid services, which would have started from the 1st of June 2022, is what the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy has, however, risen to defend. Communicating our letter to that effect to President Muhammadu Buhari.
I rejected that wholeheartedly. Other sectors where we are recording sometimes even minus, government did not stop the subsidy, but going to other sectors where we currently have 41 different types of tax being collected at the federal and state level. That attempt will destroy the sector because the economic situation in Nigeria doesn't allow us to continue to add more burden on our poor citizens. It is because of this, Mr. President has immediately approved the immediate suspension of excise duty in the digital economy sector.
So, a presidential committee that will study the situation and advise the president accordingly has been inaugurated. In Abuja, Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
Still on the economy, OPEC Plus agrees to small oil production cut as investors lose 29.12 billion naira in the capital market to begin the week on a bearish note. Details with Musa Abubakar on Business News. Musa?
Thank you, Naja. OPEC and non-OPEC members have agreed to revert to the production level of August 2022 for participating countries for the month of October 2022, noting that the upward adjustment of 100 1,000 barrels per day to the production level was only intended for the month of September 2022. The OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting Monday noted the adverse impact of volatility and a decline in liquidity on the current oil market and the need to support the market stability and its efficient functioning. The meeting noted that high volatility and increased uncertainties require the continuous assessment of market conditions and a readiness to make immediate adjustments to production in different forms if needed, and that OPEC Plus has the commitment, the flexibility, and the means within the existing mechanism of the Declaration of Cooperation to deal with these challenges and provide guidance to the market. Meanwhile, oil prices traded sharply higher but were off the day's highs on Monday afternoon. International benchmark Brent crude futures were up 2.5% at $95.54 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were up 2.6% at $89.16 a barrel. The capital market this week started on a downward trend for equities on the Nigerian stock market. At the close of trade this Monday, the all-share index depreciated to 49,991.41 basis point as market capitalization also dropped to 26.964 trillion naira. Investors exchanged 200.9 million shares valued at 1.445 billion naira in 3,976 deals. Champs, flour mills, and Nigerian breweries top trading in terms of volume. But that's business news. Najai, it's back to you.
Thank you, Musa. It's always a pleasure to hear you teach us track our money. Now, the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, ARCON, has given Hayat Kimya, a subsidiary of Hayat Holding, a Turkish enterprise with presence in several countries in Africa, including Nigeria, 7 days to resolve its indebtedness to the tune of 481 million naira, 349 naira to Mainsail Media Limited. ARCON says Hayat Kimya, which had engaged Mainsail as its media independent agency to coordinate media buying and placement, disengaged Mainsail in November 2021 with its outstanding invoice standing at 481,349,855 naira 45 kobo. ARCON says Media Independent Practitioners Association of Nigeria has reached out to Hayat Kimya without success. ARCON also says Kimya should resolve the issue of its indebtedness to Mainsail or expect sanctions which include revocation of all approvals to advertise issued to Hayat Kimya advertising materials. Kenya's Supreme Court has unanimously validated the disputed presidential election results held last August, in which Vice President William Ruto was declared winner with 50.5% of votes. The Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, Lady Justice Martha Koome, delivered the verdict Monday afternoon and dismissed many of the petitions alleging fraud in the technology used in the electoral process, while recognizing that it called a serious malaise in governance of the Electoral Commission. The court, however, concluded that the last-minute electoral rupture is insufficient to invalidate or annul the vote. Judges also found no credible evidence that there was any tampering with the uploading of Forms 34A to the public portal, and no evidence of unexplained discrepancies between votes cast in various elective positions across the country and those cast in favor of the president-elect. The lawsuit had sought to overturn the results of the presidential election and has left the East African nation in political limbo. Opposition leader Raila Odinga, who failed to secure the presidency in his fifth attempt, along with 6 Other parties petitioned the court to nullify Vice President William Ruto's win, alleging massive irregularities which compromised the fairness of the August 9 vote. The official results showed Ruto secured 50.5% support and the veteran opposition figure Raila Odinga 48.8%. It's time now for another break. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. Liz Truss, the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, is a political chameleon who has gone from a radical who called for the abolition of the monarchy to a flag bearer of the Eurosceptic right wing of the Conservative Party. Truss, who was only elected to Parliament in 2010, has in a relatively short period of time established herself as a political force who pursues her agenda with relentless vigour. The report.
Liz Truss is elected as the leader of the Conservative Union.
She will be taking power as Britain's next Prime Minister at a time the country faces a recession.
I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy.
Truss' victory triggers a handover process from Boris Johnson, who was forced to announce his resignation in July after months of scandal. She will follow Johnson to Scotland to meet Queen Elizabeth on Tuesday, where she will be asked to form a government after he officially tenders his resignation.
Up next is Sports Update.
Nigeria Women's Football League club owners have described the 10-year football development master plan recently endorsed by President Muhammadu Buhari as one that will revolutionize all aspects of football in Nigeria. Chairperson of the body, Henrietta Yabo, disclosed this when she led her executive committee members on a courtesy call to the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, in Abuja Monday.
It's more or less like a restructuring which will actually aid the progressive unit of football generally in Nigeria.
We're living here excited and happy, particularly knowing the content of the 10-year development master plan.
Elsewhere, World and Commonwealth Games Women's 100 meters hurdles champion Tobi Amusan of Nigeria hopes to sustain the momentum when tracks will be the cynosure of ice in Zurich come Wednesday. And finally, Novak Djokovic is set to miss Serbia's group stage matches of Davis Cup starting in Valencia next week due to personal reasons. The former world number one won Wimbledon to take his Grand Slam singles titles tally to 21, but missed the ongoing US Open as he opted not to be vaccinated against COVID-19. With Sports Update, Bade Adeleye, NTA News.
Sports Update concludes the network news at 9. Thanks for watching. Keep supporting NTA's campaign against rape and rapists.